Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Jack, and thank you to the iMedia Summit team for having us here to talk with all of you this afternoon. I definitely want to particularly thank Kurt and Catherine for inviting us in. And as somebody who attends trade functions regularly for his day-to-day responsibilities, I can say that that lunch was really quite fantastic. I am fluent in the rubber chicken lunch, and this was not that. So thanks to the team at the resorts as well. What I wanted to do today is spend a few minutes and just walk you guys through some recent research that we released around digital video's moment and the power of digital video for marketers, and then segue into talking a little bit about the Digital Content NewFronts, which will be hosted in New York from April 29th to May 3rd. And hopefully many of you in this room who represent the buy side will think about attending and come hopefully with your clients. But since we're fresh back from lunch, I just want to do a quick kind of room check and see how many folks here are from the buy side. Agency representatives? Could you just raise a quick show of hands? Okay, great. And from the brand side, if you're a brand executive or brand manager specifically. Okay, sounds good. On the sell side, publishers and networks. Okay, sounds good. Technology providers and everybody else in between. Okay, great, good. That always helps me just tailor some of the message here. First thing I wanted to do is, like I said, start with the digital video and TV advertising comprehensive picture study that we released about a week ago at the IAB. Part of what this study was meant to do was to start and take a look at a benchmark question of what would happen if a marketer would share shift some of their TV spend over to digital video, and what does that actually look like and how does it build out? So I'll say this, that the first part of this address will probably be kind of the spinach and broccoli Rob plate, a little bit bitter, but good for you. And then we'll segue into dessert, which is much tastier. So a few weeks ago, we released this study, and with the great support of our friends at Microsoft Advertising and Yahoo, we were able to engage Nielsen and take a look at a study comparing and contrasting TV and digital video. Nielsen, just given their deep library of TV data and assets, were able to run the study for us and come up with a few top-line findings. So as everybody knows, digital video is a very powerful force, growing consumption by leaps and bounds. But I should also say that I believe all media is additive. And what the study definitely showed is that TV is very, very strong, only ebbing just a little bit. And in fact, what we all know, people are just shifting time and devices to their personal viewing habits and taste. One of the important takeaways we definitely saw is that light TV consumers are very heavy digital video consumers. And this probably underlies or underscores the endemic shift that we're seeing from group television consumption to solo consumption. And when you're consuming sight, sound, and motion product on a solo basis, you probably go deep, specific, and at times niche. So this is an important message for us to take away as we program and as we buy. And then finally, I thought this was interesting, kind of a little bit of the gender split here, that women stream online video more than men, but men spend more time viewing and watching more streams, and the exception being long form. So for the purpose of this study, short form was 24 minutes of content or less, and long form was anything greater than 24 minutes. So the traditional sitcom half hour would have met the definition of long form here. Other important takeaways, we're always focused on that 18 to 34 demo category, with this notion that they are the only individuals in the world with a wallet willing to spend, and everybody else is unimportant. But some of the takeaways there, too, are that deploying digital in a targeted manner is a way to reach what I call the thorny audiences, the hard-to-find audiences, males, light TV viewers, and millennials. Also, optimizing video around specific genre strategies is a very important tool for marketers to keep in their arsenal. And by that I mean thinking about the content category as you do your buy is also effective. I think you heard the Yahoo and MediaLink team earlier talk about their use of comedy as a vehicle. That is a content form that performs extraordinarily well in digital video. We found that reality is also quite strong, and documentary. Think about how hard it is to discover documentaries in a place like a movie theater or even in traditional telecasting. but on digital video, it is a very, very popular format. And then the other significant takeaway is that as consumption patterns change, this will critically affect our production patterns as well. And for you as marketers, the understanding there has to be getting ahead of the curve in terms of the way you integrate your client's product into the offerings that are in the content node. And this means getting there early, thinking about a brand connection, and also putting your programmer hat on as well in terms of what would work for your brand. So a little bit about the study. The study attempted to benchmark from a flat line and a question. If you took your total TV budget and segmented some of it into digital video, what would that look like? And it ran 3 cases, a 5% case of your budget, a 10% case of your budget, and a 15% case of your budget, shifting it over to digital video. They looked at 18 schedules in live time across a host of categories: CPG, auto, tech, life sciences, and others, and basically ran the study for 6 to 9 months to come up with the results. The point I want to underscore here is this notion that across verticals, in the 15% share shift case, what we notice is that we achieved a lower total net cost from about $67,000 to $63,000 for the marketer. And that corresponded into a lower net CPM from 13.82 to 12.31. Now, I put this bullet up here, as much as it pains me to show any slide that shows a lower CPM, because I wanted to underscore the fact that the marketer has the same net spend, but in terms of reporting and CPM analysis, which is essential to show to your clients ultimately, it looks significantly better, and you're going to see in a few slides that the reach was also significantly better, too. Again, a little bit of background here. It's hard to, even in an executive slide, condense all of the background data that goes into the study, but 2 points here. One, duplication, both online and TV together, are stronger than either one apart. So we are stronger if we work together, was one of the key takeaways of the study. And secondly, sequencing matters. So the study found that if you exposed clients to your messaging in a digital video environment first, that reinforced their ability on core recall metrics, both in digital video, in digital in general, and also on TV. So that initial exposure in DV was critical for all of the brand metrics that we follow closely. So here is a little bit of a graphical representation of 2 slides ago. So taking your 100% TV budget, shifting 5% first, 10% second, 15% third, over into a digital video distribution, 18 different studies, looking at the breakdown, and we divided the categories into CPG and non-CPG, just because there's so many CPG advertisers that might have skewed the results. So here is that actual representation in bar form. So the light blue core bar there is TV-only reach. If you kept 100% of your budget there, you'd reach 57.6 million folks, and that would be what your plan actually looked like and build out. If you shifted 5% of your budget over to video, what you're going to see is the duplicated reach as the yellow bar there, 8.9 million overlap, and additional 3.7 million users would have seen your message because you shifted 5% of it over to video. If we went over to the 15% case, that same number steps up to 7.5 million additional consumers see your message when you do that, and the reach is 4.2% greater than if you had stayed in just a TV plan exclusively. So for the same budget, your reach is extended tremendously. For those of you representing clients who come to you with budgets that are flat on last year or even smaller than previous years, but they expect higher results, one of the things you can definitely recommend to them is a digital video strategy that changes the media mix such that you're still finding those thorny audiences, but you're changing up and taking a different approach that perhaps makes the message fresher and more approachable in this way. So in an increasingly digital world, the duplication of both TV and digital video, strong plus. But the other thing, too, as I mentioned, the sequencing, running video first, strengthen your performance on both platforms. lots of background, and I'm definitely going to suggest that anybody who works closely in thinking about the media mix, take a look at this report. It's available on our website. It's about 120 pages, but the level of granular detail that it provides can be quite effective as you sit down and think about your client's core strategy. But here is what I also wanted to show. So the three core metrics in brand measurement, recall, both general, brand, and message, have for a long time been the holy grail of brand marketing coverage. So when we look at just video ads in a full episode player alone, strong reporting there, compared to the telecast environment in the blue, which is considerably weaker. But as important as recall is across every brand you can imagine, I think the stat here on likability on the right is going to be increasingly important for all of us in this room. Because when you think about what likability means, it connects to propensity to share, propensity to tell others about your feelings about this product. And in a social media world, that propensity to share is extraordinarily important because it reflects not only your personal sensibility about the product, your relationship to that brand, but your ability to stand behind it and share that with the people in your friendship circle and acquaintances who are most important. And for marketers who talk about this notion of tapping into the stream that is social media and to be able to harness earned media as well as paid, that is a very, very important metric and one that I think is going to be the focus of a lot more research going forward. Two stats that are also very important to hold on to. So the average viewing length of the video ad in the study was 20 seconds. This is key because when you think that the average length of most spots in digital video is 15 seconds, what it's saying is, one, users are staying through the ads to get to the other content node. They are accepting multiple pods with multiple 15-second spots in them, and they're seeing the advertising as just a part and parcel of the entire viewing experience. And when you consider where they're viewing digital television, in transit, waiting for other things to happen, experiences that can be quite often fragmented and interrupted, that is quite significant. And then the 87% completion rate is one that is also enviable in almost any ad format as well. This reflects that there's a much lower get up and go to the refrigerator factor when you're talking about digital video, perhaps due to the intimacy and the personal connection you have to the device that you might be watching it on. Well, that is the last in terms of the background on the study, and I invite anybody who's interested in this topic to take a peek at it. It is a quite good and thorough study, and it lays the foundation for what I want to talk about right now, which is the Digital Content NewFronts. How many folks have heard about Digital Content NewFronts? If you could just raise your hands, great. How many folks have attended last year? All right, sounds good. Just in the way of background, this slide tells you that it started last year, but in actuality, the movement itself was founded by Digitas 7 years ago and started out as a thought leadership forum for that agency and their leading clients. In 2012, Digitas reached out to some other leading web publishers and said, we'd like to create a larger show, one that kind of shows off the best that we have in the industry in terms of original content at scale. They reached out to those individuals, those companies that are now part of the founding partners, and they created a much larger show. So the core founding partners, who are essentially the steering committee for Digital Content NewFronts, include AOL, Digitas, Hulu, Microsoft, Yahoo, YouTube, and we manage the process on part of the coalition altogether. This year, we're going to have 19 presenters in the schedule, and each one of the presenters will control his own show, and it'll range from a traditional upfront presentation of their programming slate to some of the presenters are doing something more intimate and high touch. So it'll be really interesting to see the range of approaches that they bring to the marketplace. A lot of people ask, well, how does the industry decide who presents? How do the shows actually get structured? Several different ways. So the coordinating committee decided that they wanted to be a little bit more transparent and democratic about the process, but there had to be core definitions on what it took to be a video producer at scale. So the first is you had to have scale. And I think we can all see by the rankings in services like ComScore and Nielsen what it really takes to be able to distribute an advertiser's message to millions of viewers on a day, in a week, in a month. And that's what scale really means. Secondly, you had to have a captive sales force to sell against that original content you were producing. This is vitally important because we want to underscore the important role that a sales team plays in allowing any agency to be as effective as they can in terms of the strategy they want to affect for their clients. All of our presenters have sales teams that are skilled in both extensive sponsorships, integrations, as well as smaller solutions that get the message across. They're quick, they're nimble. That consulting factor does make a difference. And then finally, we wanted to make sure that there was significant demand from the buy side. So back in November, we sent a survey out to 200 of the top agency executives at all of the leading media companies, media agencies in the US, to ask them, basically, who would you like to see present at the show? Forced ranking, we tabulated those results, and based upon that result, we invited individual companies in to present. There was also an open application process for smaller presenters to come in fact, some of the producers you'll see on the master list, in fact, came to us via that process. So here are the core presenters. The founding partners are obviously there, but this year we're really proud that over half of the new presenting partners are new faces. Companies that have been building up their digital video capabilities recently, have strong offerings, have a full range of sales solutions for the marketplace in terms of content diversity, in terms of placement diversity, as well as price points too. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing everybody put forward their best show. And here's the actual grid of the schedule. One of the pieces of feedback that we got in 2012 was that the shows were too long. So they were a fortnight and stretched over 2 weekends and made it very difficult for buyers from out of town to attend all the shows. So we decided to condense the week into a smaller, contiguous week so that everybody can attend every show ostensibly. There's good passing time for you to be able to get from one place to the other, and it's a great opportunity to take all of those client meetings that you might want to take if you're visiting your New York office. So that, in fact, is what I'm here to present or to ask of all of you. For those of you from the agency side, to seriously consider coming to New York for this week, seeing the shows, bringing some of your clients who are integrated into the decision-making process about which big bets you're going to place for next year, or the latter part of this year. But why originals? So here's the key question. Why would we spend all this time and energy focused on this market? Well, essentially, subculture is just pop culture waiting to be discovered. And I think this displays itself quite frequently in music, but as we become a more fluent visual culture, video is going to be a very big part of that. So the gap between the margin and the center in terms of cultural expressions is narrowing very quickly. Look at what happens to viral videos and how quickly they go from niche to mainstream. How many people had heard of Korean pop 2 years ago? How many people had heard of the Harlem Shake 2 weeks ago? That sort of thing. And the same is going to be increasingly true about our visual culture. Why? Because social media is an extraordinary accelerant. The ability to get the message out there about the brands and content that you love is so much easier now than it's ever been. This is how something that starts small can turn into something very big very quickly. For better or for worse, social media has forced an entire generation of people to be the chief curator in the museum that is their personal brand. And when you have this big museum, you have to fill it with artifacts and works of art that reflect your personal sensibility. And that's a big part of what we're talking about here too. So video, like music, is an extension of your personal brand expression. This is essential for marketers to understand, because the closer you can sync up these sensibilities, the more likely you are to truly connect with that audience that you're spending all this time and energy trying to reach. So from the publisher point of view, why originals? Well, it's a natural evolution in the marketplace. When digital video was first born, and as it matured, a lot of time and capital was spent on securing the licenses to telecasting properties. This still happens, but as everybody knows, those properties are extraordinarily expensive. There are often bidding wars for them, and so it's only natural progression that these major web publishers step up and become their own studios, in fact, to produce originals. Brand identity is very much connected to programming control. We've known this for a long time in other formats, and it's becoming increasingly true in digital. The ability to shape your shows gives you the ability to shape your audience, both kind of a forward and reversed engineered approach to this too. If there's an audience you want to tap into, develop programming for them. If there's an audience that's already attached to you, you have to continue to feed them. And then I truly believe that originals reinforce loyalty and commitment to the core brand. And I think we're seeing this increasingly. Many companies are following a channel strategy. Others are going long with a given niche audience. All of that is part of the loyalty development, as subscription models often teach us to. From the advertiser perspective, you're spending a lot of time following your audience where they live and work and travel. That mobility advantage is brought home in a very concrete way in video. It is probably the form of entertainment that people want to bring with them more than any other. If you've seen a bored 10-year-old shopping in the mall with his mother, he is streaming more video than AT&T can give him bandwidth to see. So this is very, very real. Programming diversity options. I think as an industry, we still have some work to do to come up with diverse programming for different marketplaces, but if any place can do it, digital video can. Not only diversity in terms of ethnic groups, but diversity in terms of tastes and opinions. I think we're going to see more diversity in terms of faith-based programming, regional variety and the like, and you'll probably see a little bit of that at the shows this spring. Global reach. This is a question of essentially the licensing territory by territory, but the ability for a property that starts here to go wide around the world is definitely reality in video in ways that you don't often see in telecasting. So again, placing a big bet on something that goes global is a strong likelihood. And then finally, I think this is the most important point if you're a marketer and you're thinking about where to put your budget, sensibility synchronicity. And this goes back to the fact that you spend a lot of time thinking about your brands and trying to find media experiences where your brand expression really resonates. Sometimes trying to fit that square peg into the round hole works, other times it does not. Getting in on the ground floor of a digital video experience, being able to talk to the showrunners, talk to the producers, talk to the networks, and build out an experience that is in synchronicity with your brand is part of what we're doing here. And this is what many of our publishers offer, and it's why we bring you in early. So that is one of the other advantages of the show that we hope to bring home. So again, list of the presenters. Many of you have contacts at these organizations. Reach out to your sales representative. If you don't, feel free to send me a note. I will be happy to facilitate introductions to the publishers, but we would really love it if you thought to come to New York for that week, take in as many shows as you can, and bring some good decisions to your clients. So finally, before I conclude, I'm just going to make a quick plug. For those of you who are going to South by Southwest this week for the digital track, love to invite you to our brunch that we're having on March 10th. As you know, one of the things we like to do at South by is introduce some of our younger entrepreneurial members to more mature concepts, all in the context of our marketing friends to kind of increase the conversation around what can be done, new forms and new models. And the evening at South by tends to be a great big mosh pit with designer boots, but we hope that brunch is easy like Sunday morning. So please do reach out and join. We have a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, be more than happy to take them.
Do we have any questions? If a content provider wants to be added to the NewFront, too late?
The schedule is fully committed now. We closed the schedule back in December, but if anybody does want to be added, I ask them to reach out to me because we are coming up with other solutions throughout the course of the year that might be more appropriate for other content providers.
And what's your sense of how many online companies are hosting events outside of new upfront events outside of the NewFront?
There are going to be a lot of guerrilla events. In fact, we know about them already. We know they're going to happen. When you have that many marketers in town, it's a great opportunity for companies that couldn't make it onto the master schedule. So I don't have an exact number, but I know that that grid will be fully committed as well.
And there's just for your own information, there's a complete upfront schedule of more than 75 upfront events, upfront and NewFront events scheduled this year at MediaBizBloggers.com. We have a question over here, Catherine. Tell us your name and company, please.
Yes, Emma Coker from Firehouse. I was wondering if you have any data around when video should start prior to broadcast.
Oh, the timing sequence
Yes.
of your video campaign in advance of your telecast campaign?
Yeah, if it's a couple of weeks or...
So I have nothing hard and fast on that question. It all depends on the timing of your release. You know, if you are a movie and Friday night is your big open date, you know, clearly you're going to want that window to be as tight as possible because the goal is to get as many consumers into chairs over that weekend. If you are a longer release product, you might have a little bit more flexibility there. Are you with an agency, Miss? I know a lot of agencies spend a lot of time kind of studying this conjoined question very closely, like what's the optimal timing to compare the two. But if you drop me a line, I can see if we have any more information on that question for you.
Other questions? Here we have one right over here. I've got it.
Greg Smith, Video Hub. I'm just curious, kind of for the agencies and the advertisers in the audience. I mean, what's the range of deal size that would happen at the NewFronts? You know, just ballpark figures.
Sure. So last year, we reached out to agencies after the shows to get a handle on how many contracts and soft handshakes and firm transactions took place after the show. And our guess was between $300 million and $500 million took place after last year's show. Now you're talking about 12 months out. You're talking about commitments that can shift depending on demand and the like. But we would hope that the marketplace would grow from that range this year.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.